Yo, America, planet Earth, what's up? This is your boy Codell, and this is my co-host,
Kyle.
and welcome to another episode of the Father's Gospel Podcast. I'm very excited for today's episode. We are going to be getting into Title 4D and how it empowers narcissistic mothers and financially incentivizes all 50 states to take fathers away from their children and traffic them through child protective services and our corrupt family courts. So, Kyle, you ready to get into it?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so I've been doing a little research last couple days, getting prepped for this show, and I basically went through, collected some information that I wanted to highlight in regards to Title 4D. And so we're going to break this down into quick 3-4 little sections. And so, yeah, let's do this. All right, so check this out, you guys. Now, the allocation of Title 4D funding has raised some serious concerns for families seeking fair treatment in family court. The beneficiaries of this funding, including family court judges, attorneys, ad litems, and psychologists, have created a system where custody decisions prioritize financial incentives over the best interest of the child. Every dollar of every child support collected is matched by Title 4D funding, leading to a lack of accountability and transparency in its usage. Now, I know, Kyle, you've told me before that it's not actually every dollar. You said it's 66 cents to every dollar, correct?
Right.
Okay. And that's in this state, all 50 states, or how's that work?
Right. Yeah, it's all 50 states. But like from what I understand here in Washington, and for this, I don't necessarily have the source right off the top of my head on this, but from what I get was whatever you pay in Washington State that these fathers pay. Let's just face it, it's fathers.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
you
at
just
least
roll
90%.
your eyes. Yeah. You roll your eyes because some people say, "Well, it happens to women too." Baloney.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a very tiny, small, little group of women it happens to, but it's so insignificant. And I don't want to say insignificant, but the amount of women that are dealing with this compared to the amount of men, it's not even close. I mean,
it's not. And let's just take a word of the look at the word significant. Significant would be, like up there, like the percentages that happens to fathers.
Right.
That's significant.
Yeah.
So it's rare or an anomaly for a woman to pay child support. And,
right.
You might have like some of our listeners, 1 out of 10, like, "Oh, it happens to women too." So what?
And I don't even think it's 1 out of 10, bro. Like, yeah I mean,
it's probably half of a percent, that happens.
Right. That's something we're going to have to do some research into, see if we can dig up that information online. Yeah, because that would be interesting.
Yeah, but from what I understand is whatever child support you give or that you send to Washington State, they take 5% of that.
Okay.
But they report to the feds, whatever the total amount is, because then they get 66 cents for every dollar. So
right.
It would be in their best interest, stealing that way, to sit there and say, "Okay, well, we reported this, he got this is the receipt we're going to give him, but we're going to take 5% of that." And nobody knows. Yeah, it doesn't go into their pocket. Where does that go to?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we're getting into next, because here it says, moreover, there are widespread reports of Child Protective Services, CPS, taking children into custody and placing them for adoption in order to receive financial incentives. And obviously, this is an unacceptable violation of civil rights, and without transparency and accountability, the situation's only going to worsen. So, I mean, again, like, who knows where these funds are going? I mean, it's crazy.
Well, it's the same thing. So everything that we talk about is all correlated.
Right.
It's all married up somehow.
Yeah.
And so it's not a deep dive. It's not, but it's just, oh man, it's just they're all connected. This one's connected to that one. And so it's tough. So it's like the state has their best interest, and by state, that could be the state itself or the federal government, the state.
Right.
So the state has an interest in, for lack of a better term, trafficking children.
Right.
You send them, they get them put into the CPS system. Yeah. And then they're going to receive dollars for that. They put them into an adoption system. The state's going to get dollars for that. So once they kick out, it's just like people that, like women that have more and more babies.
Right. More child welfare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they get a TANF, and it's increased. It's like, geez, just close your legs.
Definitely
So
close your
they're getting paid to have these things, and that's the bad thing about it. And again, I just saw this stat on here, and this comes off of CDC, and most of the stuff that we get on here,
Yeah.
I should put the disclaimer on there. It either comes from pub.gov,
Yeah.
CDC,
Right.
or the Centers for Bureau and Statistics.
Yeah.
And so all of this is that we just didn't pick
This
out
is
of
the
air.
government's own stats that we're presenting,
Yeah.
So I mean they're admitting to what they do.
Yeah, DSHS themselves. I went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and I saw all the federal players from that side of the house, which was really interesting.
Okay.
To tell them, like, yeah, you're right. This is incentivizing, the states. It's like, well, then knock it off.
I know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they openly admit what they're doing, and it's just wow, bro.
Yeah.
Nuts. Okay, so this kind of rolls into that as well. So it's where we at? Okay. So obviously it's essential to address this issue to ensure that federal funding is used to benefit children and families rather than being exploited to generate revenue. And the current system denies due process to families and children, and urgent action is needed to rectify this justice. So what do you think some of the actions are that we can take to really start pounding away at this issue and getting it dealt with?
Well, it's just like let's see, on one of the YouTube videos, the ones I just showed you earlier, and it's the same thing that I told you before. Is like,
right.
You gotta stop living in fear.
Facts.
You know what I mean? It's okay to be fearful in certain situations, but when you're in like this and you don't fear the government, you don't fear the state,
right?
They can't do anything to you,
right?
You know what I mean? But you have to be able to walk the walk.
Yep.
And so, like me, I'm not paying child support.
Yeah.
And it's not, you can't sit there and shame or insult or guilt me and, oh, well, this is for the kids. No, it's not for the children.
No.
The amount that I'm put out, it's probably, come on now.
Well, and with the stats we just showed with 66 on the dollar, on every dollar that they collect, and then it goes into these whatever funds they want to put it in. That obviously shows it's not for the children. I mean, they are making insane amounts of money off this. So, and people should be pissed about this. And when it comes to fear, I mean, you and I talk about this all the time. We have to stop fearing them. What is the worst they can do to us? It's like that video you showed me. What? They're going to throw us in jail? What? At the very worst, they kill us? I mean, honestly, I don't care. Like, I don't care. What I care about is freaking holding these people accountable for what they've done and getting our kids back to where they belong, and that's fathers in the home, so we can protect our children.
Well, you have to, and that's the thing. If you don't live in that fear, you don't operate in fear. Faith over fear, this type of thing. And I try not to operate in fear. There's fear that I have, for my children here and there, but
of course,
it's not like something that controls me and that I lose hours of sleep or think. No. It's I'm prepared to go to jail or prison.
Right.
I'm prepared to do these things because eventually it's going to catch up to them, not me, to them.
Yep.
So they have a lot more to lose than I do.
Yeah. Well, like I'm interested, like with my case, I got court coming up on the 10th, and like I've really started hitting home with the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and really putting an emphasis on that. And then I'm also going after them for using, for restricting my ability to be in my son's life for not taking the COVID vaccine and all that stuff. I'm going to be hammering them in the courts with that. And basically, I'm going in expecting them to try to bring the hammer down on me some more, and probably violate my parental rights again. But like you just said, so what? That gives me more evidence. I'm going to have more documentation proving that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And, we're working on some stuff behind the scenes, and eventually what they're doing is they're just digging their own grave.
Well, the solution to the problem is fairly simple, and well, it is simple and it's straightforward. You have to start suing the commissioners and judges,
right?
And all the personnel involved, the clerks, whatever the case may be, that you have interaction with, and you put them on notice like that. Yep. So that's one of many options that you can do. Two, you start suing the judges as well.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of a different thing. And there's 1983, 42 U.S. Code 1983, which is a civilian, or not a civilian, a citizen code, and then you have a federal code, which is 42 USC 42 USC 242, and that's deprivation of rights under the color of law.
Right.
So those are hand in hand, and the 1983 one can either be in state or federal court.
Okay.
So you do that. If fathers started relinquishing their parental rights,
Yeah.
not because they want to, but they want to just walk away and not have that burden.
Right.
And so it is a financial burden, because they're dictating what they're going to rob from you to give to the mother to make her financially fit.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes no sense. And
exactly, that's what I mean.
And the whole, because you and I have talked about this with relinquishing the parental rights. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when you first told me, I'm like, it's scary sounding,
Yeah.
And even still, when I hear it, it's scary sounding. But I mean, if dads were to organize and do that on a massive level, it would, you were talking about this the other week, it would collapse things quickly, so freaking quickly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
if you had as much motions to terminate your parental rights, and you filed that in all courts, like if fathers came together and they did that and they started filing federal complaints, said screw this, we're gonna stop allowing the state to do this and just file federal, which they can and they should.
Right.
And they file in these federal district courts. Those federal district courts are going to get overwhelmed. But then you take another approach to that and you amplify that, and fathers start doing termination of parental rights hearings in your county, your city, whatever the case may be, in your state. They're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be like, whoa, wait, what's going on? And then they're going to try to dictate and try to make it sound, they're going to try to do what's in the best interest of the state.
Yeah.
Which is they're going to try to make you back off under duress or threat of arrest or whatever the case may be, or
that bad publicity or whatever.
Shame, insult, and guilt you into doing it.
Right.
And that's not the thing. It's just like the way I like to look at it is like, I'm not going to threaten or promise, but I will take it back to the same fact as, like, in the Marine Corps, we don't fire warning shots.
Right.
We're not going to say, unless there's some like protocol or rules of engagement that says, okay, you're gonna halt them verbally, and if they don't halt, then you pull the trigger and double tap them to the chest and head, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's the way these police are supposed to. But the analogy is that I'm not going to fire a warning shot to the courts on this stuff, and those warning shots are, well, I'm possibly going to sue you, so you're basically, that's this threat. You know what? Just follow through and start doing these termination of parental rights things. Start, and that's a last resort type thing, but that's a weapon that you have at your choice to force these people to start doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Right. I mean, I bet if we had 10,000 fathers just here in the state of Washington do that, I bet that would be enough pressure right there.
Yeah, even 1,000. If you had them all spread out all over and you all put it together and you just copy paste off of one thing, and you terminate these parental rights.
Right.
And people are going to say, oh, well, no, I don't want to do that. That's my kid and blah, blah, blah. Come on now. Do you really think that it's going to go to that extent?
Right.
And maybe it does. If it does, then guess what? You're off scot-free. You don't have to financially provide for that child, even though it's going to hurt you in the long run, or hurt traumatically in the long run.
Right.
Because people are going to sit there and say, oh, well, look, this is what your dad did.
Yeah.
Well, no. If you understand that thing, it's not it's a war. It really is. It's a battle.
Right. And like with people, like what you just said about, oh, this is what your dad did. Dude, I mean,
that's shame.
Shame. And we have such an advantage now that we've never had before, because with the internet, we can document all this stuff, put it out there. So as, like, let's say you're a dad where you have not gotten to see your kids in years, you should be saving every single court document you have, presenting that, even putting it on social media to a certain extent, because that kid is going to grow up and they're going to be able to see if you're putting that out there, they're going to be able to see, well, dude, my dad was fighting for me the whole time, whatever. So I've been lied to by my mom in the family courts. And eventually what that does, I mean, karma comes back around.
Well, yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
reap what you sow.
You just think about it. In the protection orders here in Spokane County, for instance, you go in there any day of the week or whenever these protection orders can be filed.
Yeah.
You go in there and look at that place.
Right.
It is packed panties from, wall to wall, front to back.
Packed panties. Oh, yeah. I mean, right.
And it's all protection orders.
Right.
There's nothing there for this. So that, he looked at me the wrong way the other day when I was, I wanted French fries and he gave me tater tots. And that's, wow. Right. And they come in there and they give him this stuff. And it's not even error on the side of caution.
No.
It's just, hurry up, get out of here.
Right.
So then that way, if the person gets caught violating the protection order, there's see, this is why we did it. This is why we put the protection order on. Baloney.
Right. Well, it's crazy because like with my protection order that I'm dealing with, my son's mother, I mean, I haven't seen this woman or talked to her in 6 years. She just, as you know, she just filed to renew the protection order. And she has literally been stalking me on the internet, on my social, taking screenshots of things I've been posting, trying to claim that I'm a danger. And it's like, I don't even know, like, I don't know where you're, like, her, when it comes to her social media presence. I have not gone out and looked for any of her pages. I'm assuming she doesn't have a page. So, like, what I've done is I pointed out to the courts, and obviously they're going to probably try to ignore this, but it's like she is actually the one stalking me because I'm assuming, I can't prove it, but I'm assuming what she's doing is setting up fake accounts, and basically sending me friend requests or whatever, and just monitoring my stuff. And yeah, it's pretty freaking crazy, man.
Well, yeah, then that's the thing though too, is that you go back and you fight these ridiculous allegations, and then what you hope that the state governments do is that they put these restrictions on you, and these restrictions automatically are unconstitutional and they violate constitutional law.
Right.
Because you take a look at it, for instance, the coercive control. That's like subsection whatever. Dude. On that thing. Coercive control is ridiculous.
That's one we're going to have to do an episode on too. Yeah.
But, if you have these things and you file them, my biggest thing is like fathers need to stop going to state court. They need to stop going in our situation like Spokane County and just go straight to federal court and say this, this, and this.
Right.
All these fathers can do that.
Yeah.
Child support is unconstitutional. It's a debtor's prison type thing.
Right. And really these dads, I mean, they should be reaching out to us. If they see this video, they should be reaching out to us. They should be combining their cases with our cases because again, there's strength in numbers. And so it's like, let's start hitting back as a unified coalition. And I mean, and a lot of like the family courts, they don't realize this, but we do have a small coalition building up. I mean, we're starting to gain some major networks, and I mean, I'm really I'm really excited, dude. Like, I'm excited to really take these people on because we are going to hold them accountable for all the crazy crap they've been putting us through. So
yeah. So and one thing too on the same subject of Title 4D. Yeah. So recently there's there's this whole thing about Social Security,
right?
Social Security Act. So Title 4D, you have A, B, C, D, E, all that stuff. But all of that is all part of the Social Security Act.
Right.
The Social Security Act was created so that later on in life, when you work a full life and you've done, paid your taxes to the state and the federal government and gets kicked in,
right,
that you have something to fall back on. And that's good because that's taking care of our elders.
Right.
And doing that stuff. And the United States was good for that to begin with, but then as they go, there's always like snake politicians that come. Well, hey, guess what? We got all this money in this slush fund. It's not a slush fund, dude.
Yeah, bad actors.
It's a Social Security thing.
Right.
That money's there. You're putting it in so-called the hands of the government in some kind of an account that accrues interest, should be.
Right.
And then you disperse it to these people as they get to the age and they age out. and give them their golden years.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like if you honestly think about it, over time, your men are supposed to be at the age of 18. They go to college or they get a job,
right,
or they go to the military, do something like that. A woman, she can sit there and get married, go to college, in this day and age, right?
Right.
So they put into the Social Security Act. Well, then they had all these subsections to dip into the Social Security Act. Well, they did it at such an alarming rate that economists and people are those financial people are saying that the Social Security Act is going to be wiped out by 2032.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's already
that's just right around the corner.
Out. Like, 2032 is what, 7 years? Dude, that's nothing, bro.
Yeah, that means you and I won't get anything. Whatever we have right now is what we have. So we're literally for sure going to live paycheck to paycheck.
Well, that's why, like, for me, I mean, I'm not going to get too much off subject, but, like, I learned a long time ago, Social Security, not depending on it, getting these, it used to be you could go work for a company, for 40 years or whatever, you get your pension. Dude, those days are all over.
Yeah, you have to be really... So the critical thing about it is, like, so people don't understand, and this is connected. They take out of those funds and are paying these states from Social Security funds that are meant for the elderly.
Right.
The ones that age out and then can't work, and so they get this check. So every year, Social Security goes down, and the amount that gets paid back to the people that put taxes in.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah, everyone's getting screwed. So, I mean, this is obviously speculation, but it almost feels like Title 4D was connected to the Social Security Act to basically set up I don't know if that's the correct word, but a money laundering operation, basically a way to steal funds, And
yeah, kind of. I mean, because you take away from like anybody, if you come up as somebody walked in the door and stuff like this and said, we're starting to give you a bunch of cash. Hey, you do this, and then
right.
For instance, a huge thing. So in the Marine Corps, right before I got out, they were giving to keep us staying in there. They were giving us, because I was a careerist at that time, anything after your 4 years, then you re-enlist again, then you're considered a careerist. Okay. So they were losing a lot of us through that experience. So what the Marine Corps did, it was okayed through, was they were giving you 50,000, 60,000. I think it was like topped out at 65 grand. Okay. For an enlistment bonus, right?
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Right. Just in the Marine Corps. I don't know about the other services, but what other Marines, and I was trying to tell them this, is like, okay, two things. If you're going to do that, then you need to realize something. One, don't sign it here in the States or what is considered the United States. Go overseas somewhere, and then you sign that contract, because then it becomes tax-free. So if it's 65 grand, you're getting 65 grand.
That's that loophole thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's the way. Yeah.
So that was, they're like, oh, good, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're going to tax that. Once they get, you probably after your first year new contract, I don't know what the stipulations were, but you're going to get that 65 grand. But if you did it in the States, it's going to get taxed.
Yeah, what is it? Probably around 30-40% tax.
Generally, you can say 33.3% of everything is going to get taxed. So whatever 33% of 65 grand is like 25,000, something like that. Yeah. So you're only going to get about 40 grand out of that 65. Right. But if it's tax free, you're going to get it all. Right. No taxes. But the second thing I was going to tell you was that $65,000 has to come somewhere. It's just not, this is not alchemy where they're going to make gold out of, lead. Yeah. Same thing with money. You're not going to create it out of,
I mean, they have been creating the money out of thin air. But
yeah. By printing it more and more. Right. But the fact of the matter is that $65,000 came off. If they were to do 20 years, it would come off their retirement. That's a huge amount. Yeah. So it made no sense for you to retire at 20 years. You would have to go 30 years in order to get that money back that you had for 65. So basically it was just a loan. Okay. So I was telling all these devil dogs, is like, listen, if you're going to do that, just do it once and get out. Because if you do it for 20 years, you're going to get far less than what you have.
Right. And then do it overseas before you sign.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same thing with the Social Security Act. You have that money's, all the child support, all this stuff is coming from out of what pot? Well, that's why they have Title 4D, A, B, C, D, E, however far it goes down.
Right.
That Title 4D money, they're coming out and pulling it out of Social Security and giving it to whatever I pay. So, for instance, I think mine is a ridiculous amount, like $1,100 a month, right? And she makes more than me. That's crazy too. But that $1,100, that's a good thing. I'll take it from mine. I'm not afraid to say that. So 66 cents on that 1,100. What's that? Almost $700. Like $680.
Yeah.
Per thing. Well, that $680 is not coming from the defense budget. It's not coming from whatever budget. It's coming directly out of the Social Security thing.
Right.
And so they're paying those states back that money. Well, they're
robbing us on two fronts. They're robbing the dads with the child support, and then they're robbing all the people that have spent decades paying into their Social Security.
20, 30, 40 years that these people put in, that they pay into federal dollars to Social Security. That's where that money's coming from.
Dude,
and it's running out
insane.
in 2032. I knew that Social Security probably wasn't going to be there for me,
right?
But I just didn't know the extent. Now that I'm getting older and wiser, and now I'm following the dollar.
Right.
There's no way, man.
No.
Even if I was working at 2032, I still wouldn't be able to draw, because now, what did they say? Oh, they're going to bump up the, I think it was 67 for retirement.
Oh, yeah. They've been trying to bump up retirement
now it's like
age. Yeah.
70 or 70, 72, whatever the proposed thing is. And the reason why is because they keep moving that goal line. And if they keep moving that goal line, and they'll say, well, Americans are living a lot longer these days. Yeah, they are, because of medical breakthroughs and things that are helping you, but is that a quality of life that you want? You know what I mean?
Why should anyone be forced to work like into their 70s? I mean,
for that matter, 60s. Why? Why? You know what I mean? Like in the twilight of their life, between 60 and 75, 80, whatever their rate is, let them have the last 20 years of their life, and they're just chilling, kicking it.
Right. Like, what's the point of basically having your retirement nest egg if you're not like healthy enough to enjoy it? You don't want to just be old and decrepit and be like, oh, I finally retired. Like, you can't go out and travel or do whatever it is you want to do.
Making $1,000 a month off of Social Security, that's ridiculous.
Right. Okay. So we're getting a little off subject, but let's wrap this up. What I want to do is I want to highlight 5 absolutely horrifying facts about basically fatherless homes, and kind of get your input on this. So first, 85% of all youths in prison are from fatherless homes, bro. Like, I mean, what do you think? Why do you think that is?
Again, it comes to incentivizing child support, Title 4D.
Right.
So it's better for the state, and they think that it's better for, they don't give a crap whether it's the father or the mother,
right?
Just as long as one parent has that and can do it, because then they know they're going to get paid.
Right.
But again, historically, it goes to the mother because of this tender years doctrine, or their archaic thinking that the mother's the only one that's the best nurturer.
Right.
And it's not.
And historically, and men tend to be, we build stuff more, we create institutions, we build businesses more, because just the way evolution and all that.
Well, because we're trying to provide for that. We're either providing for that family, so it costs us more time so that our family can live more comfortable than what we did.
Right.
Or they're doing it so that the things that that they're getting preparing for a family.
Yeah.
So that they can have that stuff, and it's like.
And I believe that's one of the big reasons why they target men more, is because they know, men historically, I mean, again, we build things, we make more money, we do all this because that's just the way we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so second, 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. I mean, yeah. Why do you think that is, man?
Well, and again, these are like CDC things, Bureau of Statistics.
All
It's
their
on
own
the
government stats.
yeah,
Yeah.
National Parents Organization. So we could get in and read that, and that'd be boring for it. But as long as we throw that out there and get these people to look at, what does everybody do now? Oh, well, Google it. Well, you got to trust your source too. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so again, .govs are generally good, things of that nature. But yeah, fatherless homes create more homeless children. Absolutely. You know why? Again, because the woman is selfish about that stuff, and she sees that money and she looks at that. Well, that's mine. I rightfully got it. By well, then you know what? If you want to be blunt about it, then you're a prostitute
Dude, facts,
because
bro.
you screwed
Like,
to have kids, and then you're taking that money for yourself.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Ron DeSantis now, he finally put just recently, this past, was it May or June or something like that? He stopped permanent alimony in Florida.
I know,
Like,
bro.
good
It's
God, that's
beautiful.
one state that's doing it. They should do it in all other states now.
Right. 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 No, and it's like in Georgia, we've talked about this. Now they're doing mandatory DNA testing too for newborn
Yeah, I
kids.
think I think one of my posts today, I put it. You would wipe out fatherlessness if they did actual they got rid of no fault divorce.
Facts.
They did mandatory prenuptials.
Facts.
They had mandatory 50-50 custody.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
You know what
Just
I feel
those
like?
three right there, boom, it'd wipe out the problem.
I feel like a lot of the women that, the crazy women that purposely use their system, if all those things went into place, they would go get their tubes tied so freaking quick. I mean, it's hilarious. Okay. So, here's the third one. 80% of rapists with anger problems are from fatherless homes, and I mean, again, why do you think that is? Like,
Yeah. Well, because they didn't the mother. Again, weird. I think I was talking about the fellow Spofi father. Shout out to him as T.J. Smith.
yeah, good
and
guy.
He told me that like this violence that comes from it, and yada yada yada. I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. This does come, that's a violent crime, but it's not just men on women; it's men on men that happen like that. That's why most violence happens with that. But the thing about it is like, I think he was kind of telling me this. I agreed with it. You get that boy, right?
Yeah.
Or even that girl. They're gonna grow up and be a lot bigger. They're gonna be a lot bigger than their mother
Right.
at some point in time.
Yeah.
I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'1", but I'm the shortest male in my family.
Right.
Well, my kids right now are getting up there, and I'm hoping my sons are taller than me. You know what I mean? I hope they take my good healthy things, because at 50 years old, I'm still in damn good shape.
Right. Yeah.
So
you don't
I'm
look
hoping
50, brother.
Yeah, thank you. But what that causes and creates is that there's no discipline. That woman is not going to discipline those children like they should be. A
Right.
father is, because a father's going to be more stern, more firm, more fair about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
And the child is still going to love that father, just like even when I did. I mean, I didn't want to see my father after the age of 12 because he beat the crap out of me and all that stuff. But
Right.
I still, at that point in time, I still wanted to see him, thinking that, he was going to be better. And, he never was, but so well, I'm here to break that cycle for my children because I want to see my children. I want to raise my children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being raised, again, it's still a hand-in-hand fact with that goes through there. Children that come through single father homes are more like 85% more likely to succeed
Yep.
versus a single mother home.
It's because they're getting the discipline they need, and honestly,
Yeah.
again, like, men are more naturally leaders, and so the children are going to naturally look to the father for guidance when
Well,
it comes.
feelings don't establish behavior.
Right. Right.
If they could sit there and they do whatever, well, I feel this way, and so that's what the kids think. And it's like, well, you hurt my feelings, I'm going to do this back. Well,
Yeah.
Not really.
Right. 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 Now, okay, so this is crazy, bro. Children living in fatherless homes are 279% more likely to illegally carry guns and deal drugs than peers living without their fathers.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the whole reason why is because that mother cannot provide for the morale, welfare, and safety of that child.
Right.
So what do? In society? They find out what can help them fight off from being bullied, from being, hurt or any of that stuff.
Right.
And that so then they turn to weapons. You know
Right.
what I mean? They turn to fighting, because they think eventually it comes and pops in their mind like, oh well, if I fight then nobody's gonna mess with me. No, not really.
Right. 1 second. I got to get the door real quick, bro.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, anyways, we're talking about fathers.
And the weapons.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
weapons. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so again that's the kid. The kid only knows that because they see it on media, they see it on TV, they see it on TikTok, they see, in like so many people need to do. They're so again, women are weak
Right.
in that department
Right.
to defend. Oh well, I can do this. No, come on now.
Right.
I mean, how many things do you biologically that we're a lot stronger?
Right.
You know what I mean? Even some of the fem guys that could probably,
You're still stronger biologically.
yeah. You know what I mean? And then there's that mental factor too. And men is like, man, I'm not getting my ass whipped by a woman. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
it brings up that,
Yeah.
that retard strength in them. That like, boom, 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 boom. Hit them. But I mean, well, sorry, that's a bad thing. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not politically correct.
Yeah, who cares, bro? We're not insulting mentally
Yeah.
handicapped people,
Yeah.
so yeah.
But so these kids have that. But it's a perfect thing. It's a perfect segue in the thing. There was an analogy for this, right? Or it actually happened. So this reporter was talking to a Marine father, a Marine officer, and she said, and what this officer was doing outside of the Marine Corps was that he was showing him weapons familiarization techniques.
Okay.
He was talking about guns and things like that.
So is that like how the weapons operate? And
Right.
Like, okay.
Clean them and stuff like that. Because when
Right.
you have a respect for them, then you're not going to run out there. This is what you do. This is what happens. This is what could happen and stuff like that. So they were teaching that stuff. He was
Right.
teaching this stuff. And so this journalist said, it's like, well, don't you think that's irresponsible of you? He's like, why? I'm teaching nomenclature, characteristics of the weapon, what it can do, in the proper hands, intelligent hands, and things like that.
That's a
and
good thing.
The safeties and precautions of this stuff.
Right.
And it does show a direct reflection of like it decreases violent crime with handguns.
Makes sense because you're gonna have like strong, emotionally stable men who know
Mm-hmm.
how to operate weapons, and we need people like that to protect against the
Mm-hmm.
crazy people that are gonna use weapons.
Well, if people that didn't know how to knew that and saw that, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to mess with somebody that just, can't control a weapon.
Right.
Like I would attack that person right away, and slap them and stuff.
Well,
like
it's like with the gun-free zone stuff. I mean, not to get too off subject, but almost every mass shooting that is done is typically done in a gun-free zone. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and of course it would be done in a gun-free zone because they're gonna. If you're a mass shooter, you're not going to want to go into a place where a lot of people are armed.
Well, yeah,
you're gonna
see-
want easy pickings.
And it goes back to the statistic. These kids don't know, but they get the gun because they know it does a lot of damage. But they're trying to protect themselves because one, they can't physically protect themselves from by using self-defense, which again should be a good thing for kids to do. But what this Marine officer was saying is like, yeah, I'm teaching them all this stuff, and just because they have the equipment and the knowledge doesn't mean that they're going to turn out to be a serial killer.
Right.
It's teaching them restraint. It's teaching them that this is an option,
Yeah.
but it's not the only option.
Right.
And so the journalist is like, oh, well, just ranting and raving about this stuff. And this happened on the East Coast. But the Marine officer got our back, and he said, okay, well, by that term, by that thought pattern or that thinking, he's like, should I assume that you're a prostitute?
Right.
She looked at him like, what? It's like, no. He goes, well, why not? Because you have the equipment, you have boobs and a vagina, and most prostitutes are women.
Right.
So should I assume that just because you have boobs and a vagina, you're a prostitute? And then right then and there, she shut up.
Yeah.
Because, he
Good.
had her.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that you don't teach these kids intelligence, so they turn to weapons because the father hasn't taught them how to deal with conflict
Right.
resolution. and more men are focused on a solution versus their feelings. They can have those feelings, but then the man is trying to figure out what is wrong with that feeling,
Yeah.
or what is right about it, and they try to fix it. A woman will go on and on and on, but these kids that are from fatherless homes don't know how to do it because they learn from a woman.
So they're more likely to run out, like, instead of, logically addressing whatever issues they're dealing with and having control of their emotions, they're basically more likely to go out and do some crazy stuff, and grab guns, and sell drugs or whatever and all that stuff, and then just go out there randomly and get people hurt.
Yeah, they're knowingly using a weapon because they're not from a father. They're I don't know how to say that properly, but they're not understanding the ramifications of using that weapon.
Right.
Only in that short instant thinking do they do that because they're just trying to protect themselves ultimately, or their siblings.
Well, and then also it's like, because they don't have, they don't have dads, and basically their examples have been, hip hop culture, what they see through movies and television. They have this like distorted version of what like manhood is, and so it's crazy.
Yeah. And they should, like I said, I'm going to teach my kids. I was taught the same way, like you're more man to walk away from a fight than to start a fight. But
Right.
if it happens, you better finish it.
Right. Okay, so let's get into this last one, and then let's wrap this up. So this has to do with daughters. Daughters from fatherless homes are 111% more likely to have children as teenagers. Like, why do you think that is? Again,
Well, because again, they don't have that father in there, and so that love that they give to the father, because they want a male figure.
Yep.
And then they put it on to that boyfriend or something like that, and they think that that's love and that they're getting love, so it's misplaced love.
Right.
And so that's why the whole terms, the stereotype, well, she has daddy issues. Yeah, she does, actually, because her father wasn't in her life. It was only her mother.
Right.
And then she sees, and if she sees her mother going out on random dates or having different dudes, like those kids know. Like my kids right now are 9, 7, and 4.
Yeah.
And they know that I'm their father.
Right.
But they're probably asking the mother questions. But, has she gone out? Has she done this or has she done that? Oh, the friend, you know what I mean? Or Uncle so-and-so. And it's like, that's gross.
Well, and like for the young girls, it's very similar. Like what I was saying a moment ago with the boys, they have this distorted vision of what manhood is, and because they don't have a stable father figure in their life, and so like these girls without fathers, they're getting to them they're being fed what manhood is again
through male
the
attention.
media, through hip hop culture, through movies and all this stuff. So they just see this like violent like version of men, which really isn't,
they get the male attention,
right?
Because through that boyfriend, and then they think if they're doing that, if they they misplace love and they don't really know what love is. You know what I mean? Like my daughter, I don't want her to do that. I don't want her to act like her mom, and I don't want her to act like 85% of the women.
Right.
I want her to be respectful of herself first,
right,
and then respect others, but not always agree with some of their things. I'm not saying that she should buck authority or anything like that, but she needs to learn from me rather than her mother. Again, statistically through the CDC, it says that our children fare 85% better in when they're single father homes versus a single mother home, and then they fare just as well when it's a man and woman in that hetero marriage and things like that.
Well, and then with your daughter having you in her life, then she has a real life example of, okay, these are the type of qualities I need to be looking for in my future.
She's more confident.
Husband.
She's more confident. Hey, I want somebody similar to my dad.
Right.
That's why they say that. And then they're gonna pick better things. If they just saw street runners and dad coming in and out, even in that home, let's just say that the mother and father were together, but they both had their vices, whether it was drinking or drugs or out running around doing this, that, and the other. They see that, they emulate that.
Yeah.
So they get out, they're not any better.
Right.
But if you have a solid father, and that father's the rock that safe space that they can come back to, and bounce these things off of. Well, Dad, this happened and this. Well, don't worry about this, and blah blah blah. And this is how you do it. You explain to it. Don't coochie coo your kids.
Right.
That's the wrong thing. That's what women do in these things. They coochie coo their kids and say, well, this is the feeling, and your feelings are mean the most. No.
Yeah, your feelings are valid no matter what.
Yeah, your feelings are valid no matter what, and your feelings take priority over everybody else. No, that's not.
Don't.
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Men teach, you're all right to feel this way. However, do you sit there? Do you think about this other person? Try to put yourself in those shoes, and
right.
and it's more, it's
right.
a more even keel. But
and on the flip side, it's the same for boys, and this is where I'm calling out moms, like. Boys, like a good woman, a good mother is supposed to provide that example to her son. These are the type of qualities you should be looking for, in your future mates, and on a large scale, it's just not being done.
Yeah, and the thing, our mutual friend Eric Coltrane and I were talking about this kind of in a roundabout way last night. So these girls, and I say girls because then eventually they turn into, women,
right?
And there's a difference between a lady, you know what I mean? Female, women, girls, these girls are come up, and once they have a false thing, the Cinderella effect that they do, because they see this on Disney, and it's a proven thing. It's a widely accepted thing, the Cinderella effect. But at the same time, these girls are taught as girls that grow up to be adult girls that the man is supposed to do this, the man is supposed to provide for this, the man is supposed to protect and do things for the woman, and respect the woman and things like that. But the girls are never taught how to be respectable and how to respect the man too for doing this.
Well, they're basically taught right now is that, because I've heard this, I've seen this on videos, I've heard women say this so many times, like you ask a woman, what do you bring to the table? I am the table.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not the table.
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean? Like, tell me what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Like,
and then and here's the other thing too, it would probably be a good statistic on that Title 4D.
mm-hmm.
So Title 4D didn't come into effect until 1975.
Right.
That's no coincidence, you know what I mean? Title 4D came in 1975, then no fault divorces came in and around that area. So all these little things that feminists have pushed with the help of the system, and these corporations like, hey, that's a good idea, we can only tax one person out of the household.
Right.
But if we promote single women too, then we can tax them as well. Hey, great idea. And that's such a ridiculous thing because it's all about greed. And then that's why they say capitalism is great. I'm not saying socialism or Marxism or any of that stuff is good. But the fact of the matter is that you have to have an even balance.
Well, everything has its flaws,
So,
and it doesn't matter what it is. Like, unfortunately, I mean, just there's always corruption.
But that's pretty sick if you think about it. I mean, just that stat alone, Title 4D came into evolution, started in 1975, and in less than 50 years, it's almost wiped out billions of dollars of Social Security funds.
Well, and this is like why I always tell people, because the average American doesn't really plan ahead at all. Most people aren't even planning a few days ahead.
No, they don't.
And what people fail to recognize is that people that are, whether it's running a giant company, running countries, or doing whatever, these type of people, whether they're good or bad, they're not planning a week ahead. They're not planning months ahead. They're planning years ahead. They're planning decades ahead. And it's really hard for some reason for the average person to wrap their head around that. And it's just it's something that people really got to wake up to. But let's wrap it up here, dude. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Just don't operate in fear.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared to go to jail. You have to be prepared to do all this stuff. hopefully every episode I'm gonna say that. Stop operating in fear.
Right, right.
When you control that and you don't live in fear, they can't control you.
Right, yeah.
You know, we're not their servants. They're our servants.
They
they're,
are
they're
our servants.
They're public officials.
Yeah, yeah, they work for us.
Yeah.
And we need to get that in our heads and drive that home.
Yeah,
It's
we're not walking them. They're walking. You know, we're walking them. They're not walking us.
right, and we have every right to remove them from whatever
Yeah,
position they're
absolutely.
in.
Yeah,
you know,
that's why they have discretion, too much discretion. You know that it's been acceptable to
Right.
do these things, and just like the Title 4D, it's been acceptable. But when people start looking at it, and you have all these people that are like 60 now, right?
yeah,
And because honestly, by the time of 2032 comes around, there's not going to be any money for them.
right, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's not a what if thing. It's inevitable. It's going to come out.
right, yeah,
You're not going to have any money there, you know,
Right.
or it's going to be so low, $100 a month. Who the hell can live on $100 a month?
no, especially right now, like. So yeah, dads, I mean, and moms, but dads, you guys really got to start reaching out to us. I mean, we've got a network of like-minded fathers that we're working with, and it's only getting bigger. And so we encourage all of you, especially those of you that are still living in fear. Stop. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Stop. Like, reach out to us. We're here to help, but we cannot help if you guys are not willing to help yourself. I mean, we want to see this epidemic of fatherlessness end, and the only way to do it is to address the root of the issue, and that is the corrupt family courts, corrupt child protective services, issues like Title 4D, and all this other garbage that's going on behind the scenes. So,
Right.
yep, I'm Codell. This is
Kyle.
Yep, and we thank you for tuning into the Father's Gospel podcast. Make sure you give us a like, share, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, and follow us on all our social media links. And check out our merch store. We got good stuff. So, anyways, stay safe. God bless. Love y'all. Peace.